Dr. Gregory Jantz is a best-selling author of over 45 books and the founder of the Center A Place of Hope, voted a top 10 center for depression treatment in the U.S. As the pioneer of whole-person care, Dr. Jantz is known as the messenger of hope. Now the nation's expert on anxiety, depression, substance abuse, relationships, trauma, and PTSD, here is Dr. Gregory Jantz.
Hi, it's counselor and educator Dr. Greg Jantz. And what do you do? What do you do if anxiety's got you paralyzed and you feel frozen and you can't seem to get beyond the anxiety? Anxiety is our number one diagnosis in our country. It's the number one non-medical diagnosis. It is the most common diagnosis, anxiety. Anxiety can freeze you. It can hold you captive. Anxiety takes and as though it has a stronghold. It wraps around you. It affects all of our systems. I write in the book, The Anxiety Reset, about how to address a whole person strategy to cover all the bases in order to find, well, what are the missing pieces to the puzzle? Think of it in terms of a 1,000-piece puzzle. Lots of pieces and lots of pieces to that anxiety. Sometimes it's hard to know, well, what came first? My poor sleep or my anxiety? Or how did it all get to this point? What are the different pieces? Anxiety can be created by a lifestyle. Anxiety can be created by an unpleasant situation, a sudden diagnosis that could be fearful, like cancer. Anxiety can be created with a unpleasant accident, or somebody has been bully behavior or cyber bully behavior. Feeling unsafe creates anxiety. So anxiety, lots of roots, lots of causes, and we want to talk about some things that you be sure that you always go over when you're struggling with anxiety. These would be some of the foundational issues to make sure they are addressed in order to have direction on where I go from here. So cover these first if you're struggling with anxiety, and then we can build a plan after covering some foundational issues. All right, number one, anxiety. What are the physical symptoms that you may be experiencing? Well, let's think about those. Some of the symptoms of anxiety could look like depression. I could wake up in the morning with a heaviness that I can't seem to shake off. And you know that feeling of that heaviness. It's an oppressive feeling. For some, they may describe it as a spiritual battle. There seems to be warfare, something going on. And it's a heaviness. No matter what I do, I can't seem to get this oppression off of me. Okay, that would be a common symptom to depression and anxiety. Now, anxiety, and I said spiritual because there are some spiritual implications for anxiety. I'm going to just speak from my personal belief system on this, that we need to address and look at fear in my life. What's my issues that I may, or my beliefs around a God, around fear? Did I grow up with religious even spiritual abuse that taught me a lot of fear? So something to look at. Maybe I've carried that for a long time. So number one, what are my beliefs? What are the beliefs that I hold that could be adding to the anxiety? Because at some point I could have the belief that I don't deserve to have a happy relationship. I don't deserve to have a certain life. I don't deserve to have healthy relationships. And so then I've learned to live in a way that is really, if you will, undeserving. And I don't really have, because I don't believe that I should or that I deserve to even have any healthy relationships. I was taught that I was in some way defective. Shame was a theme that I was taught maybe growing up, that you were never good enough, and so you carried that into adulthood. So what are my fundamental beliefs that could be contributing to anxiety? Do I believe that I am unlovable? Do I believe that I am flawed? Do I believe maybe certain lies others have told about me, and so I've always been anxious, and maybe I have a social anxiety. Remember, there are many different forms of anxiety. Social anxiety, there's anxiety that can arise from physical causes, which we'll talk about. So lots of reasons for anxiety. Anxiety could have emotional roots. So this is why we look at beliefs. If I have been deeply wounded by physical or sexual abuse, and I have had repeated traumas in my life, and trauma after trauma, I could really have layers and layers of hurt, of trauma in my life that really maybe have never been peeled back and looked at to see what do I need to resolve in my lifespan that has been many layers of trauma. And that can be, that alone can create anxiety and be fearful and create a sense of such uncertainty because I've had a lot of trauma. So the question is, have I had traumas? I've had significant loss early on, loss of a loved one, repeated abuses or emotional abuse in my life that will create anxiety. So, and then what are my beliefs around that? So, trauma, beliefs, and now we need to look at, okay, and this, again, as we start to look at this, we're just doing what I call a quick scan. I'm scanning for possibilities why this anxiety has gotten such a stronghold in my life. Why now, after time of experiencing anxiety, do I feel like I can't function? And I'm at a place of where I'm disabled in my daily functioning because of anxiety. It has taken me down a path where I am in despair. I am feeling a sense of disability because of anxiety. I'm no longer functioning, and it's anxiety in my life. Now, I'm going to also say we live in some interesting times where there's a lot of things, if I focused on them, I could be really anxious about. Lots of things. I could have anxiety just by looking at news, and people don't know what's true, what's not, and the term misinformation, fact check, this and that, and I can get fixated on these things and feel exceedingly anxious. All right, now we also want to look at anxiety that could have some physical or physiological implications. And I wrote down here really some of the most common that we see that could be really a significant pull in your body that could create anxiety. Number one, medications. Am I taking any medication that could have a side effect that promotes anxiety or anxiousness? Am I taking anything over the counter that could be creating anxiety? You know, by the way, a common example could be some people get anxious even taking an over-the-counter allergy medication. Okay, it's not prescribed, it's just over the counter. And they experience anxiety as a result of taking that. So, both prescribed, unprescribed, could be contributing. What am I doing daily in such things as my caffeine intake? Am I the guy that's having 8 to 10 cups of coffee or espresso? Or I having all these different caffeinated or coffee drinks? Does that describe me? And is it other things that could be going in my mouth? I'm going to mention alcohol. Alcohol is a central nervous system depressant. So whether it's beer, whether it's wine, and then hard liquor, it's a nervous system depressant that leaves you, then the rebound is anxiety. I will feel anxious because of it. Alcohol use. A hangover tends to foster a sense of anxiousness. And then I later learned that I drink to feel normal. So is there alcohol in my life? And I'll tell you, there's a lot of reasons not to have alcohol in your life. Anxiety is just one of them. The studies, everything is so clear now about alcohol and really what happens in our brain. And it used to be, well, moderate is okay, or just drink red wine. No. What we know now is alcohol in any form is not healthy for the brain. And we know that alcohol and certain cancers, etc. So a lot of reasons, I'm mentioning it, to keep alcohol out of our lives. We also want to look at sugar intake. A person that maybe has a food addiction these are, again, our foundations to look at with anxiety. What's going in your mouth? Is there a lot of sugar? Okay, so let's say it's during the holidays, or it's birthday, or it's Thanksgiving, and yeah, there's sugar, there's pies, there's desserts. Are you the person, though, that has trouble regulating sugar intake? Eat more sugar than what you know inside that was going to be, you made a decision to keep going. Sugar will promote a anxiousness as well. So just some things, I'm just tossing out things we're looking at. Again, the purpose of this time here is just a quick scan. We're scanning of possibilities. And this is why many times individuals coming into the center, they go, well, I've taken this anti-anxiety medication, I'm on this antidepressant, and I'm taking a high blood pressure medication, and they will say, it's like, well, nothing's really working for me. I'm still struggling. I'm still having anxiety. And so because there are other contributing factors that are interfering and even limiting a medication's ability to help because of other factors. So that's why we love the whole person approach. That's why, it's never a single pill that's going to cure us. It is looking at the whole person and all the contributing factors. Okay, so water intake. Water. I was going to reach for my water bottle. Water, I cannot stress the importance of good, clean water and a daily water routine. Water improves mood, improves concentration, lowers blood pressure, and helps, did I say improve concentration? Water does so much for us, and actually is responsible to helping even with energy. So I want to mention water. Some people who get anxious tend to move away from water, and they're drinking heavily energy drinks, a lot of caffeine. They're drinking a lot of other things besides water when you get anxious. It's kind of a natural, though self-destructive pattern that you can get into. All right, next one I want to look at is sleep routines. Again, quick scan. Over the last few days, when you look at bedtime, you look at time that it took to go to sleep, you look at did I stay asleep during the night? Was I up more than one time during the night? Do I wake up during the night kind of gasping for air and my heart beating fast? Do I find myself just that boom, 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 feeling wide awake? waking up suddenly, but you're not wide awake because you just were thrown out of a sleep. So years ago, I did work in sleep research at a sleep laboratory, and so many advances in the area of sleep and how it relates back to sleep stages, how it links back to anxiety, sleep disturbances, sleep apnea, where we stop breathing for a certain period of time during our sleep. These all can be contributing factors, so the quality or lack of quality of your sleep can be a huge one, as it promotes anxiousness and also depression. So sleep, just what is my sleep hygiene? What's my sleep routine? What's going on there? And then again, scanning different possibilities. Have I had blood work done? Vitamin D. What's my vitamin D level? That's one that we would always look at. Vitamin D. What is my hormonal levels? By the way, low vitamin D, depression, anxiety, low energy. Such an important nutrient. And it sometimes you may have to ask in the blood profile, hey, run my vitamin D, but also run my hormonal panel. That's testosterone. That's the free testosterone in the bloodstream. That is the estrogen, estradiol, the female hormones. We want to know exactly what is going on hormonally. If I have very low testosterone or very low estrogen, bingo, low energy, anxiety. Again, these could be contributing factors that's making everything worse, amplifying my symptoms. So then we also want to look at thyroid function. I have low thyroid function. How is that potentially interfering? By the way, low thyroid, anxiety, for example, and depression and low energy. So those are some of the basic ones that we always want to cover. There's others that we want to look at, but that's our quick scan to go, okay, what do I know about these in my blood work? And what do I know as far as how far off am I? I have had individuals come in and say, my doctor said that my testosterone was a little low, but no big deal yet. Hey, individuals, by the way, may not be that low in a standard framework, but when it's moved back up and put a little bit closer to the other end, a person feels radically different. So there is the art of how all that works together. And if your vitamin D is low, oh my goodness. So, all right. The other one to do a quick scan is, I'm going to call it gut health. Gut health, our microbiome, our intestinal flora, everything that makes all the good bacteria, makes most of our B vitamins. So, you're going to find as you look at this, you go, well, upwards to 90%. And I noticed that over time the number has gone higher, but mostly when you read, you'll find 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut. Serotonin, has to do with mood, has to do with sleep. That's an important brain chemical. We manufacture it in our gut. It travels via the vagus nerve from the gut to the brain, and it's very important for substance or fueling the brain, serotonin. And if you have food allergies, leaky gut syndrome, or been told you have, and your digestion never feels like it's well, you had a long history of using antibiotics, those are possibilities. This is why so many times now we're seeing various different acidophilus is what is oftentimes been said to take, but taking different kinds of intestinal bacteria is what it is, to reestablish that in the gut. So a probiotic, for example, in reestablishing gut health, a lot of times has a big connection to brain health. The other one that is manufactured in the gut is dopamine. It has a lot to do with the feel-good chemical, mood, and mood balance, and so forth. An SSRI, a medication for depression, for example, a common one, usually is manipulating, I'm making it super simple, manipulating that dopamine in your brain. Well, what if I can do that in a different way by having good gut health? And yeah, it might take a little time, but boy, do I feel better. So these are things to look at. The connection between your body and your brain and brain health, super important. Do I have a lot of inflammation? And inflammation, people who have inflammation in their life, in their body, tend to also have a lot of anxiety. So that's another one to be looked at. So you can see there's a real important role for examining and scanning what could be happening in our physical well-being. How's that affecting my brain? And I have seen brain scans, Dr. Amen and his SPEC scans, and I've seen brain scans, highly anxious person, and it's been that way for a long time. They've received appropriate treatment. 6 months later, a year later, you look at the same brain scan and you go, wow, okay, that's not my specialty, but you can look at it and know this looks not so good and this looks a whole lot better. And so this is why we've got to look at, as anxiety, we've got to look at what's going on in brain function. All right, it's just some things to consider as we, our desire is to kind of re-examine some possibilities, all those different pieces of the puzzle, and then how do we need to begin to reset those pieces of the puzzle, and really we're rebuilding and establishing a plan for dealing with anxiety. Now, I haven't really gone into how we think, our cognitions. We talked a little bit about what we believe, but as you look at every avenue of the whole person, you can create an exceptional, sustainable plan for anxiety in your life. And there's at times hidden anxieties. If I have hidden behavioral addictions, pornography, gaming, I'm going to put sex addiction in there as well. Gaming's a big one. Technology addiction, etc. If I have these issues, then and they're hidden to everybody else, maybe you could put gambling in there as well, I will be producing anxiety. So we've got to look at the whole side of behavioral addictions. All right, this is so important to do the initial scan, and this is just a podcast to help us think about some possibilities and then build a plan. I love doing it with a team. That's why I want to have everything from the psychiatric team. That's why I want to have the naturopathic team, the nutritional team, the dietitians, the mental health specialist, if I need addiction specialist, and I'm going to add fitness. And how am I going to build my physical health and fitness and put together that whole person plan, as well as maybe I need to have a spiritual mentor, maybe I need healing spiritually. All that has to come together for a long-term successful plan. Just some considerations when nothing else is working and the medication, is not working, I'm not functioning. What do I need to look at next? These are some of the brief, I call it a scan because we're just briefly going over some of these to look at what may need further exploration. Behind me there's a blue book. I just see it there, a blue book, The Anxiety Reset. And the Anxiety Reset comes also with a 12-week workbook to help me work through and have a structure to work through dealing with anxiety. Again, the number one diagnosis in our country And a lot of people are suffering, and I think suffer way too long before receiving help and specialized help. No magic pill. That's what we usually start with. Give me the pill so I can feel better. No one magic pill. But we've got to look at the whole person so I can have a long-term plan for healing. Again, many different forms of anxiety, from panic disorder. I think worry, a lot of worry, a person who worries can turn it into anxiety. So our mental processes, what we call our cognitions and how we think and what we believe and what the dialogue is up here is so important. I do want to say there is hope. I do want to say not only hope, but hope comes when there's a plan. And this is a part of beginning to put together a plan that's going to work over time. So there's hope. We've been doing this for 39 years as of today, to this year. In 39 years, I can tell you, I'm confident in knowing what works when we apply it properly and what will work over time. So there really is hope.